Hi everyone! I've missed you so much. So today I want to teach you about the instruments in the orchestra. We're going to use this fancy book called Meet the Orchestra. It's written by Anne Hayes, illustrated by Carmen Thompson. In this first page, you can see the animals are all going to the orchestra performance. So you can see they have programs in their hands here, and they're coming down the aisle. They're getting all settled in their seats. They're getting excited for the show. The orchestra plays tonight. The audience has arrived. The musicians are coming on stage with their instruments. What a lot of different kinds they play. Strings, woodwinds, brass, and percussion. You see right here, this is the percussion. This is a timpani. This is the brass. This is a French horn. That's the one I play. And then we've got the flute right here. This is a woodwind. And then the violin right here, those are strings. Violin. Players with like instruments sit together in families. The violin belongs to the string family along with the viola, the cello, and the big string bass. You play all of these with a bow or pluck them with your fingers. The violin is the smallest of the string instruments. Its song can be bright as laughter, light as air, soft as a whisper, or sad as a tear. Viola. As instruments get bigger, their voices get lower. The viola looks and sounds like a big brother to the violin. It has a deeper tone, reminding you of evening shadows, cloudy skies, and the color blue. Cello. You can tuck a cello under your chin the way you do a viola or violin. It is so big you must rest it on the floor. The cello's rich, mellow voice speaks of deep feelings like joy and sadness. It can remind you of the calm beauty of a drifting swan and of the color purple. String bass. The string bass is the grandpapa of the string family. Yeah, okay. It is so tall that you must stand up or sit on a high stool to play it. When bowed, its low notes moan and groan. When plucked, its booming sound helps other musicians to keep the beat. The flute, there it is right here. The flute belongs to the woodwind family along with the piccolo, oboe, bassoon, and clarinet. You blow into these instruments to play them. At one time, all of them were made of wood. Today, the flute is often made of silver or even gold. To play the flute, you always hold it sideways, tighten your lips, and blow across the air hole. With practice, you can trill like a bird or play slow, quivering notes as cool as a mountain stream. And I actually have one just like that I'm going to show you really quickly. We're going to learn more about this one later in the year. This one's called a fife, and it's actually a Civil War era instrument. It has 6 holes right here. You cover your fingers like this. You blow across the hole here. Just a little taste of that. Play that more when we get to our Civil War unit later this year. So that is the flute. Now, the fife is actually really similar sounding to the piccolo, which is this next instrument we're going to learn about. The piccolo is the little sister to the flute. It loves attention and always gets it. This tiny flute is so shrill you can't help hearing it. Its high notes almost pierce your eardrums, yet everyone loves the piccolo because it has such a great sense of fun. The oboe. The oboe has a mouthpiece made of reed. The reed can be fussy and troublesome. Then it honks like a goose with a bad cold. But usually the oboe can be trusted. The oboe plays that single note to which the whole orchestra tunes just before the concert begins. Its voice may remind you of faraway castles, of sunset, autumn leaves, and the sadness of saying goodbye to someone you love. The bassoon. The bassoon is like a large folded oboe. It also has a reed mouthpiece. Its voice, like its name, has a kind of loneliness. Yet the bassoon can also be playful. It chats and chuckles with the other instruments, and you can hear it chugging along like a tough little engine. Can't you almost see puffs of smoke coming out the top? The clarinet. Here are two different clarinets. The straight one is nimble and quick. It tootles up and down the scale, never tripping over a note. Its cool tones melt in your ears, just like ice cream melts in your mouth. This very long clarinet is bent at both ends so that it doesn't touch the floor when played. As its low, slow notes may remind you of clouds drifting across the moon or a snake swaying to a snake's charmer's music. This is my favorite. This is the French horn. French horn, make way for the brass family, the powerhouse of the orchestra. Even when they play softly, you can sense a huge cat crouching to spring. The brass do not have reed mouthpieces. Your lips buzzing against the metal mouthpieces produce the sound. The tubes of the horns magnify it as a bullhorn magnifies an announcer's voice. The French horn is like a big bright bell at the end of a long thin tube. The tube is coiled so the horn can be played with one hand on the valves and the other inside the bell right here. The hand inside softens the sound. Uncoiled, the French horn would reach all the way across a very large room. Someone would surely trip over it. The French horn has many voices. It can calm you with its gentle tones or thrill you with its gallant hunting calls. The trumpet. The trumpet's shorter tube makes it look easier to play than some of the fancier brass. But is it? No, say the trumpeters. You must work just as hard to learn it. The trumpet's call is noble and exciting. It can remind you of flags flying, soldiers marching, and royal persons entering a great hall. Tuba. The tuba has a huge bell and a very long tube. Do you remember that the bigger strings have deeper voices? The same is true of the horns. The bigger ones make lower sounds. The tuba seldom carries a tune. It is more of a rhythm instrument. Its oompas help the brass to keep the beat. Just as the thump of the bass does for the strings. So here's the trumpet. Here's the tuba. Timpani or kettle drums. The big kettle drums sit in the kitchen or percussion section of the orchestra. Everything that is beaten, banged, dinged, or pinged belongs there. Have you ever heard the orchestra rumble with the sound of distant thunder? Suddenly it explodes with a boom, boom, boom. That is the timpani. They look like big kettles sitting side by side. Each has a slightly different pitch. You beat rapidly from one to another, making the thunder crash and roll. The cymbals. Look at the elephant's got his cymbals right there. The cymbals look like a pair of pot lids. When banged together, they crash with the fury of an electric storm. If the kettle drums give you the roll of thunder, the cymbals give you the flash of lightning. Hear them ring out just when the music reaches a peak of excitement. This is a proud moment for the whole orchestra. The piano. Look how fun. When you sit down at the piano, the black and white keys make your fingers want to dance. From the center, you can play them all, the high ones on your right and the low ones on your left. When you hear a murmur of notes burst into thundering chords, then fade into silence, it is probably the voice of the piano. When it is over, you may want to clap or perhaps even cry. The conductor. Look at the conductors there. Now meet the conductor. He is often called maestro, which means master of the orchestra. That he is, for he leads the musicians at all times. He does it mostly by talking with his hands. In his right hand, he holds a small stick, the baton. With it, he beats time. His left hand motions, you play now, be quick, livelier, louder, softer. Ah, that's perfect. A raised eyebrow says, you're playing that off key. The musicians have taken their places. The strings, who are by far the largest group of players, sit in front, almost filling the stage. The woodwinds sit close together at the center. The brass percussion are at the back. The conductor strides on stage in front of the orchestra, raises his baton. Let the music start, he says. So you see up front here, we've got all the string instruments right up here. And then behind them, we've got our woodwinds, and then behind them, we've got our brass instruments. So that's how they always sit in the orchestra. You can see it a little better here. So we've got all of our string instruments right up here. Here's our conductor, the maestro. And then our woodwind instruments are back here. You got the flute, the clarinet, the bassoon, the bass clarinet. And then over here, we've got our percussion instruments, the ones that get hit. And then back here, we've got the brass instruments. Can you find the one that I play? Yes, it's right here, the French horn. It's the one I play. The orchestra play tonight. Now it is time to go home. Like the voices of their instruments, the musicians drift off into the night. That's the back. So those are the instruments in the orchestra, and we're going to learn more about those again throughout the term. I've got a whole bunch of different instruments that I'm going to show you in another video. So we'll do a little demonstration of each one so you can kind of see how they sound. I've also got some fun links on my website so you can go and actually watch some videos that show you what each of these instruments sound like. So hopefully you found that entertaining. Have a lovely day.